Is it easy to shake a character like this? Somebody who he's sort of like the golden boy. He seems like, the prince in a way, and then you find out it's really not such a great prince because he has all these issues and he's sort of truly screwed up.
I still think he's a prince. I do, and I still think that anyone that is willing to deal with that kind of their shortcomings in a way so boldly and bravely and honestly, in the end, deserves a certain amount of respect. And so I respect Paula as a character. Shaking it off, meaning at the end of the day, was I able to leave? Or when Iris said, "We're done.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Go on with your life, Zachary."
I didn't want to shake it because it was something that was really important to me, and it was the first process I'd ever been involved in a film where I felt like I was allowed to be a collaborator and I was really respected as an actor, and I didn't want to let that go. And Ira warned me early on that we were going to be spending at least the next year together, and I certainly didn't believe him, and yet here we are, almost a year to the day after that conversation, and we are sitting in the same room together.
Did you go to Berlin, both of you, for the world premiere? Or Sundance was the world premiere?
Sundance was the world premiere. And then we went to Berlin a month later. And we sold the film. The film, it opens in September 7th. And I think it opens today in Paris, actually, which is exciting. I really discovered cinema in Paris. So for me, it's a great movie city. And I think that there's a way in which this film fits within a European cinema. That's why I think the reception in Berlin was so positive in certain ways.
And have you won the Teddy Award previously in Berlin?
No.
So that was a fantasy in the film.
It was a fantasy. I won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance in 2005 for a film called 40 Shades of Blue. So there was
that Rip Torn?
That was Rip Torn.
Okay.
The great Rip Torn.
Yeah. And how where was the autobiographical element there?
Well, the character Rip plays is loosely based on my father, who was a kind of larger-than-life figure who had lots of younger women that he was often with for long terms. And so the film is about my relationship with my father's girlfriends. It became something different, but that's really where it started from.
And do you know what you want to do next, where you plan to go next?
Yeah, I've just finished a new script with Mauricio, my co-writer on Keep the Lights On, and it's a film about two men in New York who've been together for 38 years. They decide to get married. Following their wedding, they go off on honeymoon, and when they come back, one of them is a choir director for an all-boys Catholic school, and he gets fired. And the film is about, they don't have the money to keep their apartment, and the film is about how they end up getting separated and how they attempt to get back together and be together as a couple. And it's really a film about the potential for love to blossom over decades instead of just destroy itself. And I think this, in a way, is a film, my first film, about an honest relationship and its ability to grow over time. I'm in one, so we're hoping that 30 years down the road it'll look like love.
So that's the autobiographical, potentially autobiographical element there.
Yeah, it's also inspired in various ways by my relationship with specifically a gay couple that I knew that was together for 45 years, but also just my relationship with older people. And I think, I'm 46. I'm dealing, as many people my age, with a lot of we're all getting older quicker, and being around elder people and trying to figure out how to be aware of what their lives have been and what their how their place is in my life at this point. And so these generational conflicts, ultimately it's a social comedy about those generational conflicts.
And Zachary, where did you come from anyway? Is this your feature debut? This is, as far as I know, it's the first time I've ever seen you.
Well, I'd like to think that I worked quite a lot before I got here, but in many ways this is probably the role that I'm the most proud of to date, so I'm happy to say.
But not the role he's most famous for.
Which is?
I was on a show called Damages for 5 seasons.
With Glenn Close?
Yeah, I played her son.
Oh, okay. So you could see that on DVD. People
Well,
love
yeah,
that show.
The final season is airing right now, and we're getting down to the last couple of episodes, and it airs on DirecTV now, but you can also download it on iTunes and see it on Netflix and all that good stuff.
So Zachary, did that change everything? It's a hit show. It's a critically acclaimed show, even though it has a small but influential audience. Did you feel overnight, did your agent call you up and say, now kid, things are going to be, so different, you're going to be amazed, and have you been?
I certainly didn't get that phone call. I know that I'm really lucky to have gotten the show, and I know that it has helped me get in a lot of rooms that I would have had a hard time getting in before. But, being an actor, it's a process, and it's a body of work. It's not one role at a time.
I think the similarities between being an actor and being a director is all you can count on is that you're good at what you do. Zach is a really great actor, so that will stay with you. That's like whether you have a hit or you don't have a hit, if you keep coming back to that. And I think that's really the issue for these two characters in Keep the Lights On, is they don't know that they're good enough. And in a way, they believe that they can only feel good enough by holding on to that other person. And I think the film, in a lot of ways, is a coming-of-age story. It's about these characters, both of them, who grow to, it sounds very cliche, but they grow to love themselves enough to be alone and to be without each other.
And final question here then, before we have to go. There have been a lot of actors who have won great acclaim playing gay roles. I'm thinking Ian McKellen as James Whale, William Hurt won an Academy Award. For you, Zachary, was there any kind of issue about that? Have you played gay roles before? I don't know.
I have. And there was certainly a conversation, and the question has come up a lot of times, like, was I afraid to play this role? And Ira often comments how hard it was to find actors specifically to play the role that Tour ended up taking on. And I sit there and say, well, I showed up the first day. But, it's not all about me. I'm coming to learn. Yes, there is a conversation, but I read this script and I watched Ira's films. And I said, this is a guy that has something to say, has a beautiful way of saying it, and has a really accurate eye when it comes to creating films that are beautiful to watch and interesting to watch. And I wanted nothing more than to be a part of it. And once that got in my head and in my heart, none of the rest of it mattered.
Cool. Thanks so much. This is Stephen Schaefer.